are watching Metropole Television. This is business. We tell you exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your economy news, what you need to know as you go by your day. We have a lot prepared for you, and this morning we have the privilege of being joined by Mr. Stephen Gikonyo. Karibu sana. Fantastic. Good. Now, Voko, Garissa Township Member of Parliament Aden Duale has been replaced by his Kipipibri counterpart Amos Kimunya as the new National Assembly leader of government business in the National Assembly as the purge on Jubilee Party rebels acquires an unstoppable finality. Now, the change was effected at the Jubilee National Assembly Parliamentary Group meeting chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the Kenya International Convention Center in Nairobi. Elders MP Aden Kainan has also been picked as the secretary of the Jubilee Parliamentary Group to replace Kimunya. Now, the meeting resolves that all committees are to be reconstituted on Thursday, June 25th. Let's leave it there. Stephen.
Yes, sir.
As expected, is it a surprise?
Not a surprise at all. The rumors have been rife for quite a while now. And so what we saw yesterday is what was expected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
But anybody looking at it, therefore, would ask you this question. Is it a call from President Uhuru Kenyatta? Is it a normal party process? And if it's not or yes in both situations, what are we seeing right now in Jubilee?
Well, obviously there's some turmoil.
Yes.
That goes without saying.
Yes.
And some of these people are surprised that these actions are being taken because Jubilee was pretty cohesive, if you will, for quite a while. And therefore there's a change in attitude on the part of the president and a change in actions on the part of the party.
Yes.
And but we expect that there's an agenda that the president wants to effect.
Yes.
And perhaps he did not feel that he could do so with the officials as they were. And therefore he's exercised his powers as the party leader to effect these changes that we're seeing.
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Is it regrouping for 2022 from where you said this morning?
That has got to be part of it.
Yes.
Because really the future, it has to do with legacy issues.
Yes.
And therefore, we will see it unfolding as far as what exactly is it that he wants to achieve.
Interesting you're saying legacy issues.
Yes.
But why would Uhuru Kenyatta and his party focus on legacy right now when in reality we should have been seeing the same energy, probably directed to fighting corruption,
correct,
and number two, delivering on the big four agenda? We haven't seen such energy going by the recent events.
Yes.
Yes.
I think perhaps it's a realization that all those things may not necessarily be possible with the current framework or the previous framework. We can now call it previous because the changes have been made.
Yes.
And a re-energization because time is running out. And therefore,
is it time is running out or time has already run out?
Time has run out.
What you said.
Time has run out. 2 years is a very short time.
Yes.
And therefore, we are seeing refocus and re-energization on the part of the president and the party to effect the things that they deem necessary.
Yes.
Remember that we had the handshake come in from the opposition, and so things started getting mended. And I think there's been an issue of adjustment to that reality on the part of some of the party members. And also, there hasn't been as much energy within the party to hold, party elections, if you will, or even within parliament to have the parliamentary group meetings, etc. And because there's been so much happening, and therefore now we are seeing that the bringing together of all that so much that has happened, and now making it work. Yes.
Talk to me in relation to the BBI process, which we have been told is going to come back.
Yes.
Like that's what Kenyans expect next.
Yes.
And talk to me about that in relation to Uhuru Kenyatta. What does he want to achieve with the recent changes, therefore?
Well, I think we have to wait for that document to come out because I would be speculating if I say precisely what the president wants.
Yes.
However, the writing is on the wall. There's some changes that need to be made at the top, as we have been told.
Yes.
People were giving their input across the counties. So we're waiting for the final document that then says this is what we want to achieve with BBI.
Yes. Is he making things easier for him as he channels BBI to the House?
Well, if you have people who are strictly on your side
Yes.
in the House,
Yes.
then it's very easy to pass things through.
Yes.
Because they agree with you. If you have people who are opposed in key positions, then your agenda will not go through.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is strategic. It's looking and saying who can I get or put in strategic places,
yes,
to ensure that when these bills or these changes come through, that they'll slide through without as much as an afterthought.
Yes. Yeah. Lastly, as we clear on this,
yes,
Deputy President William Ruto was present yesterday during that meeting. What did you make of it?
I think the Deputy President, it would have been too loud a message if he wasn't there. I don't know why we would expect him not to be there, because it's a Jubilee Party parliamentary group meeting.
Yes, we have seen him miss key areas though of late.
It's true.
Yes.
But it would have been too loud a statement, and unfortunate if he wasn't there. So I think his presence says that he's following his party leader, and seeing what his party leader is doing, and by his presence being supportive.
Not mentioning Jubilee Asili right now?
I've not heard him talk about Asili. That's what everybody's talking about.
Yes.
But we haven't had him come out and say, specifically that there is a Jubilee Asili.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, Kenya is yet to make public its negotiation objectives for the proposed free trade area FTA almost 2 months after the US published its intention to get that access of its products and farms to key segments of the local economy. Now, Kenya's trade negotiation with the US will strive to generate a pact that protects the local economy and safeguards regional integration. That is a statement from President Uhuru Kenyatta last week amid calls for caution. Now, the president acknowledged that we are dealing with a large population and a bigger economy than ours, and that we are trying to find a scenario that opens Kenya as a market for some of the US products, and one that enables Kenyans to take advantage of the huge markets as well. Now, to put that into perspective, Gikonyo, this morning, now we do know that there exists a $1 billion trade between the two countries, that between Kenya and US.
Yes.
But the problem, and why Uhuru Kenyatta is being advised to look at this with caution, is because now some members of EAC are feeling, you see, if you get into an agreement with the US, that sort of says that you're going against Article 37 of the East African Community Customs Union Protocol that requires information among member states to be dealt with and signed before you move on with this. Now, this means probably that AGOA, which we do know expires in 2025, will be replaced, because Uhuru Kenyatta thinks that this is a better deal. Now, the only one which EAC is well clear of is AGOA.
Yes.
But Uhuru Kenyatta wants to get into a new one. He has made 2 visits already to Washington. Should he hold on? Should he continue?
He should continue. It will be a good deal for Kenya.
Which is better? Is it EAC pushing Kenya away, or us sticking with 2 years with the US?
I think it is better for us to go forward.
Yes.
Because one, we are talking about a large economy.
Yes.
Very big economy. And if it opens up its markets to our products, then our people benefit. It's almost like a tick on a cow. It's not going to get thin as long as it's on that cow. And therefore, the US trade agreement will be very good for us. Now, if we say that we first have to go and negotiate or agree with EAC, I think we can do that after the fact.
Yes.
Yes, because we're not breaking anything that's already in place, but we're enhancing our relationship with the United States.
Yes.
And you also have to see the geopolitics of it. The US wants to have its foot in Africa, and Kenya is the gateway to Africa. And therefore, they've been behind the ball in terms of access to markets or willingness to even participate in industry and markets here for quite a while. But they've realized, at least over the last 10 years, that China is really ahead of them, and they want and would like to have a foothold in that arena.
Yes.
Yes.
But which is what I want to talk to you about. Now, if you look at exactly what our beneficiaries mostly have been, it's China. I mean, our development projects have pretty much been taken over by China. So when the US is looking at that situation, is it going to make the negotiation a bit complicated in the sense that, well, you got to do away with China to some extent for us to come in with this deal?
I think it would be a mistake for them to come in with such demands.
Is that not why they want to come in?
Yes, but not to say take China out necessarily.
Yes.
But to be part of the activities, business infrastructure activities that are taking place on the continent.
Yes.
And therefore, they wouldn't come in saying, get these guys out, because we're already in a relationship with China.
Yes.
They'll come in and say, this is what we can do for you, and perhaps do it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, therefore, Gikonyo, you should be talking about that, because we do know that we are also talking about the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, which we expect to take effect as from June 2021.
Yes.
What happens when Kenya moves forward and charts its way with this new US trade deal?
Yes.
And the same nations that we expect to trade with under FTA are the same nations we're telling them right now, this is a better deal than what we're getting from EAC.
Yes. I think more is better. If we have the option of getting technology and getting infrastructure projects completed by various players, I think it's good for the continent.
Yes.
And so any questions that come up will come with that in mind. You have this trade agreement with the US. What does it really mean for us? Can we participate as an extension of it? Those are the kinds of discussions that should be taking place.
What sort of position does that put up? You saw us with the likes of our neighbors like Tanzania. You saw exactly what happened the other day when we got into a diplomatic tiff with Tanzania just because of testing along our borders. But we do know that was not really the gist of it. The gist of it is that there have been other issues trade-wise that have not been solved. Are we sort of saying, well, we don't care?
No, we're not saying we don't care. We have to care. These are our brothers and our neighbors.
Yes, they're looking at us.
They might look at us that way,
yes.
But I think over the long term, they also will benefit from increased trade and increased business.
Yes.
Remember, Kenya is not the only place that needs these inputs. Therefore, Tanzania will need the same kind of entry as long as we go in united.
Yes.
It makes sense. But normally what happens with Africa is we start thinking of ourselves as the little countries that we are. If we look at Africa as a bloc, and that's the idea behind the free trade areas, there's so much trade that we can do with one another.
Yes.
But we need to start working faster about diminishing our differences. Yes.
Pretty much. All right. Let's now move on to this one. It's a big one. Now the waiver on mobile money transaction fees under 1,000 has lapsed, turning the spotlight to the Central Bank of Kenya, which had pushed banks and telcos to adjust prices because of the economic slowdown caused by the global coronavirus pandemic. Now, the 90-day deal with the government lapsed last week, and Safaricom, which owns M-pesa, says it is waiting direction from CBK on the free services, which has seen the Nairobi Bulls listed company lose an average of 1.7 billion shillings monthly since mid-March. Now, the waiver, which involves telcos and other firms involved in mobile money transfers, was aimed at cutting down on the handling of the cash and the attendant risk of COVID-19 being transmitted from person to person. Data from the regulators show that the daily average mobile phone money transactions of less than 1,000 grew 83% to 1.98 billion daily between April 20th and May 10th when compared to the days before March 16th, just 4 days after Kenya announced its first positive COVID-19 case. However, the growth was counterbalanced by the decline in mobile transactions of more than 1,000, which dropped 18.4% to 5.6 billion shillings daily in a period when most companies have cut down their activities or shed jobs and placed workers on unpaid leave in response to the pandemic. What is Dr. Patrick Njoroge waiting for? He should have spoken a long time ago.
He has. He spoke sometime last month, and he told us that this month 5 million companies will be shutting down as a result of the effects of the pandemic.
Yes.
And, you know, we talk about the losses that perhaps the telcos are realizing, but we brought more people onto the M-pesa platform.
Yes.
So the transactions are online as opposed to cash for the majority of people. And so that's a big shift by having those free transfers.
Yes.
I think they should continue that and make it part of the mainstay.
Yes.
Why charge the little person a fee for the 1,000 shillings? Of course, there's a lot of money that they're going to forego, but it's for the better good. So I hope that Patrick will speak
yes.
and say, well, let us continue with this for
so the only thing is done is just an intimation of the situation on the ground.
Yes.
So we have yet to get his final say on this as well.
Precisely, and,
yes.
that's what the banks are waiting for.
Yes.
And that's what the telcos are also waiting for. But I saw a note that said that they will make a decision. But of course, he has veto power to come and say, no, you're not going to do that.
Yes.
So we're all waiting to see what happens with that situation.
It's been a week. What do you think he's doing right now? Because we celebrated the 90-day period. We said this is good,
yes.
just a start of cushioning the economy
yes.
from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
The 90-day lapsed last week.
Yes.
He should have spoken a long time ago.
Perhaps, but they're also crunching numbers, I presume. They're looking at what's the effect. And also, we talk as if the pandemic is over.
Yes.
It's just beginning, in my
view.
It's
just beginning, yes.
The effects of it especially.
Yes.
We've had the economy shut down for a while now, over the last 3 months. The effects of that are yet to be felt. What does it mean to have 5 million registered companies close their doors? You know, the effect of that is going to be enormous. So I think he's looking at the numbers and perhaps messaging the right places to make sure the support is there.
Yes.
And we wait to see what he says.
It comes from a perspective, I think it's been put on the spot for overly regulating the financial sector within the economy. That would be put on a balance depending on where you look at it from.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the banking sector, which we've also seen has suffered enough from non-performing loans, which, as we do know right now, stand at 13.1%, and they are expected to continue. Mm-hmm. What do you think is thinking? Well, I can't take a revenue source out of these banks, which is pretty much transactional costs right now.
Yes.
They need it more than ever.
Yeah.
And it's coming from the perspective, everybody is coming from the perspective of, we didn't expect this to go on for this period.
Yes.
That's why we put it at 3 months.
Yes.
Do you think that is going to be swayed by what is happening in the banking sector now?
I don't think so. When you look at the bigger picture, what's happening to the common mwananchi
yes.
Can have some very serious effects on the stability of the country. Already the economy is shot.
Yes.
We have not heard from the experts what the effect of the pandemic is so far.
Yes.
And but I think it's going to be devastating. You know, we always talk about how after elections we go through a slowdown and so on. We have never seen anything like this that affects the entire economy at once.
Yes.
You know, so there's a bigger question than just how the banks are doing.
Yes.
The banks have ways of borrowing and managing their monies and lending and so on and so forth. We haven't seen banks shut their doors just yet.
Yes.
We haven't seen them talk about losses or no profits just yet. So, and the focus therefore must be on cushioning mwananchi.
Yes.
Yes.
The only place that we can actually draw this sort of scenario that's going on in the country is we go to the US. You did say the other day, despite them having an economic stimulus package, actually 3 of them in a row,
yes.
They didn't revise their interest rates. They said we are still under the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that what we're going to look at and say, wow, if they haven't done it, and that's a top economy,
yes.
you can't do that if you really want to prop up the economy right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what needs to happen is there needs to be a think tank, if you will, mm-hmm. that includes government, business, banking, and all the regulators.
Yes.
Key people to sit there and say, what do we need to do to resuscitate our economy?
Yes.
Because right now it's in ICU.
Yes.
And yet we haven't felt it yet. You know, you're still monitoring, looking at the monitors using the analogy of ICU and making a determination, can we save this or can we not? What do we need to do to intervene to save our economy?
Yes.
And that needs to happen like yesterday and provide us with information to also inject some hope in people. You know, for the last 3 months, we've just heard about the numbers of increased number of infections. We've heard about the losses of jobs.
Yes.
We've heard about the cessation of movement. All very gloomy information. I think it's time now to look and say, okay, what do we need to do to get Kenya going again?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, somebody's going to listen to you speak and then say, probably, is it going to come from the perspective of a changed curfew hours within the country, in the sense that we were working from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. Now we've changed it to 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the explanation given around that area was, now everybody has a full working day. So probably we are back up and running. Is he going to look at that and say, maybe not?
It's difficult to say what they'll come up with. But I think it depends on the focus. What are they focused on?
Yes.
If you're focused on slowing down the infection rate, then we'll see a continuation of cessation of movement and also curfew hours.
Yes.
If you're focused on resuscitating the economy, then we're going to see the opening up and allowing people to go do their trade and business.
Yes.
Remember, we've been hit by flights not coming in and also a reduction of ships that were coming in. So even in terms of, let's say, tourism is not just about the people going to sit in the hotels and tour the game parks.
Yes.
It's about the guys on the street that sell trinkets along the way to Nanyuki or Narok or Savo, etc. And therefore, those are people who have no jobs anymore. They have no place to go sell.
Yes.
They don't come into the city to buy the wares that they normally trade. So the effect is multiple.
Yes.
There's a multiplicity of effects
Yes.
on the economy. We need to act urgently, because if we don't, then we'll have disruption.
Yes.
Because when people are hungry, they're angry and they need a solution right away. So right now, people are still being patient, studying the situation, but government needs to be ahead of that, ahead of their emotions, ahead of their feelings, ahead of their finances, to try and resolve these issues.
All right. Lastly, therefore, on this issue this morning, yes, this announcement is expected to come after President Uhuru Kenyatta did announce a 56.6 billion economic stimulus package. Within that, there are even guarantee schemes that are directed directly towards businesses, and they call them small businesses. Is that going to be a factor that Njoroge is going to look at as well and say, probably yes, I mean, they can go for these loans, so let's get the economy back up and running?
Absolutely. Any stimulus is good. However, it cannot be done in isolation. If you shut down Nairobi, for example,
yes,
as we have,
yes,
then, or at least cessation of movement, then it means the impact. First of all, we need to understand the role that Nairobi plays as a cog of the economy. So if we say that we're going to do stimulus, we provide money for people to do what? You know, so because business requires communication. Communication means people get together and they trade.
Yes.
You know, so what does that stimulus entail? It's going to be interesting to see how they package it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but a stimulus is definitely needed. Yes.
Fantastic.
The other thing also
yes,
is, of course, the issue of rents. People are earning 80% below what they were earning previously.
Yes.
And anyone who had a side hustle, that side hustle is pretty much dead. So what mitigation do we have, or what buffers do we have for those people not to get kicked out of their rental houses?
Yes.
At the same time, what can we offer the landlords who probably have a loan? I know the bank said, come in, ask us for a moratorium or something to that effect, and we will offer it. There's no coordination on that. And people are stressed out because every day the agent or auctioneers are knocking on their doors or removing doors, roofs. We've heard all kinds of things.
Yes.
And so government needs to address that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, the government is relying heavily on tax to fund its 1.6 trillion budget that it would table the other day.
Yes.
And when Safaricom, your biggest taxpayers in the country, are telling you, we are losing 1.98 billion
Yes.
in just a month because of all these things that you've done. You saw the other day, IMF telling the economy, you have to revise whatever it is that you've done quick as possible at that, because if you don't, you're even going to struggle to pay your loans, which we do know right now, you have a lot of them. Is Njoroge under that pressure? Because he knows, he's quite aware. He's been told. Is he aware that even IMF is telling him, scrap that off? go on as you were?
You know, we have to weigh the direction of the IMF carefully.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's not necessarily in our best interest. However, these are institutions that we work with.
Yes.
They've been helpful over the years in one way or the other. But we need to find homegrown solutions. And that's what I was saying, there needs to be a think tank of those people in those key sectors. The CBK, the banks, Ministry of Finance, etc.
Yes.
Sitting down and saying, what solution can we do? We've been dealt this deal of the disease. What can we do to resolve our problems? What's the answer?
Yes.
Right now, the government is hemorrhaging. You have all these projects and all these loans, but the revenue stream has been cut off. When you cut off VAT or reduce VAT, that's the blood that the country runs on, pretty much.
Yes.
So when there's no trade, there's no tax, or there's a significant reduction of tax. When business is closed, you lose that revenue stream. So if you look at it that way strictly, yes, we're in trouble. You know, how do we finance, or how do we pay for the loans that we have, and also the obligations that we have to the Mwananchi, as well as the huge bill that we have within the government. Therefore, we are looking at a very dire situation.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Which makes us look forward to that announcement from Njoroge more than ever. And guess what? Take Gikonyo back to the time that he came into the studio this morning to get his sentiments on what he thinks about what the economy is really faring on with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on YouTube at Metropole TVKE. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. So let's take that break. But once we come back, how are hospitals and the insurance sector dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic? How do we rate it once we come back?